Hello, boys and girls. Greg from the Scary Spirits podcast here to make you another cocktail. This week's cocktail is the Bay Breeze. Ooh, fancy. And as usual, it is the featured cocktail in today's episode. We're going to start with our rocks glass filled with ice. To that, we're going to add cranberry juice. 2 ounces cranberry juice. Next, pineapple juice. 2 ounces of pineapple juice. Sounds like an lanai drink, boys and girls. Two ounces. Next, vodka. Only 1.5 ounces. Surprisingly. I would have thought it would have been 2, 2, and 2. Whatever. And then if you want to be fancy, you can put a lime wedge in there, but I'm not fancy. So then we combine them in our rocks glass with ice. And there you have it, boys and girls, the Bay Breeze. Yeah, it's pretty good. Definitely a lanai drink. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. See ya.
If you listen fairly regularly, you will know that although Greg loves the beach, he is not a fan of swimming in the ocean. You can blame Jaws for that phobia. Well, on this week's episode of the Scary Spirits podcast, The Bay, we give Greg yet another reason not to go in the water. Is it possible that I picked yet another eco-horror film right before he leaves for vacation, just to mess with him? Possible, maybe. Probable? Yep, totally. So if you're headed for the beach soon, this week's cocktail is just what you ordered, but the parasites, not so much. Either way, don't forget your sunscreen. Cheers!
Welcome to the Scary Spirits podcast. Please be advised that the presenters may use adult language and or discuss adult situations. This podcast is not intended for younger listeners or those that may be easily offended. So, if you're ready, let's go.
Hello, boys and girls. I'm Greg.
Hi, everyone. I'm Karen.
And welcome to the Scary Spirits podcast. Podcast that combines the two very different yet highly compatible worlds of scary films and alcoholic spirits.
What could possibly go wrong?
Indeed. How are you, Karen?
I'm fabulous. How are you, Greg?
I'm fabulous as well, Karen.
Awesome.
We are a match for once. I think
For
this is
once
the
when I
first
say
time
fabulous.
ever
That you've
in
been
the
fabulous.
167 episodes we have done that we are both fabulous.
It's tough to get there.
Preaching to the choir, sister. All right. I believe this film was your choice, was it? Was it not, Karen?
It was.
And what film have you chosen for us this week?
I have chosen the film The Bay from 2012.
Any reason you chose this film?
Well, when this podcast comes out, I believe it comes out on the 3rd of
It
July,
does.
which is right before the 4th of July, which is our Independence Day.
Mm-hmm.
And this film features the 4th of July.
It does, Karen. You nailed it this time.
Yeah, thank God.
But I've noticed you kind of do a lot of these eco horror films around the 4th of July. Didn't you do frogs around the 4th of July
I
too?
did frogs. Yeah,
Yeah, so I don't know. It's curious.
it's a theme.
Silver Bullet, not so much, but whatever. Go with your strengths, I guess. Eco horror and vampires. I don't know how those two tie together.
Yeah, I'm diverse, that's for sure.
You are. So we're just celebrating the 4th of July. Is that what we're doing?
Pretty much.
This was a good 4th of July film, I would say.
I
But
agree.
when I'm getting ahead of myself. Do we have a cocktail to enjoy while we watch and critique this film?
We do. It's called the Bay Breeze cocktail.
Ooh, El Bay Breeze. Sounds fancy.
It is fancy.
And it has the name of the movie in the name of the cocktail. Go on. How do
I'm
we make
crushing it. I am crushing it today.
it? How do we make a Bay Breeze, Karen? And
And
I'm
it's
sure
easy to
none of
make.
our listeners know how.
I've never heard of it, so I don't know what you're talking about. You're going to need ice, 2 fluid ounces of cranberry juice, 2 fluid ounces of pineapple juice, 1.5 fluid ounces of vodka. Like there'd be solid ounces. We need fluid ones, and 1 lime wedge for garnish. You're going to gather all your ingredients, combine ice and vodka in a highball glass, add pineapple juice, then add the cranberry juice, and garnish with a lime wedge.
I was a little
It
disappointed,
is
Karen,
pretty.
that there wasn't 2
my.
ounces of vodka. I was thinking,
Well,
2, like, because I'm all symmetrical like that.
you do you, Greg. No one's going to stop you. The
And what?
cocktail police aren't going to bust in and say,
So were we
you
not
can't
supposed to
have
stir
one and
it?
a half fluid ounces. No, it layers.
I know yours is very
See?
pretty. Mine is very muddy because I stirred mine.
Oh, well,
So that's what I was going to ask. Does it matter what order you poured in? But apparently it does because I just added them
yes.
willy-nilly.
All willy-nilly. That's
It
great,
says
Greg.
combine. Doesn't it say combine in a highball glass with ice? Doesn't say
Ice and vodka in
layer.
a highball glass. It says step 3, add pineapple juice. Step 4, add cranberry juice.
Okay.
Garnish with the lime wedge and enjoy. You
right.
jumped the gun.
I did.
You
Sorry.
thought you knew what you were doing, and
I'm sorry, boys and girls. So pay no attention to the YouTube video because I totally messed it up.
well, no, it'll taste great. It just won't look as pretty.
Well, if you're having a straw, I'm sure it tastes different.
True, and it will all combine at some point. So,
All right, Karen, should we give our friends and listeners time to make their own Bay Breeze, which I'm sure no one has ever heard of?
are they popular in Florida? Is that your thing?
Yes, Karen. Everywhere I was
okay.
trying to go to has a Bay Breeze. I think they're pretty popular. They're delicious.
Okay.
That's probably why.
Yes, let's give them time.
Hold on. And we're back.
Yes, we are.
Karen, might you have a brief synopsis of this film from 2012? Do you remember 2012, Karen?
Vividly,
I'm not sure I do,
but
go on.
I can't talk about it. You don't want me to tell you a story?
Yeah, tell me a story.
You just said
about
go
the
ahead.
Bay.
I was,
Yeah, tell me a story about the Bay from 2012.
The residents of a seaside Maryland community become the unfortunate hosts of mutant waterborne parasites that take control of their minds and bodies.
Thank you, Karen. We are a match. Very short synopsis, and it pretty much tells you where
It's
it
not a
is
bad
and what's
one.
happening. No, but I'm not sure it's accurate so much.
It kind of did. It waffled a little bit.
It went a little too far in the synopsis. Went a little too far. All right, Karen, tell us everything you really enjoyed or were pleasantly surprised by in this film, The Bay, which was directed by Barry Levinson. He's a well-known director, Karen.
Yeah, I didn't realize that when I picked it. So when I went in to watch it, I'll be honest, I'm pleasantly surprised by the whole thing because I was expecting something much cheesier.
Yeah, you don't recognize any of the actors.
but you definitely recognize the director when you see his name in the credits.
I thought it would be like, I don't know, parasites coming out of the wall. I just thought it was going to be one of those kind of cheesy movies, and it's not. I think it's very well made. I think having grown up in a smaller town, the whole festival thing kind of reminded me of Frontier Days back in the very beginning when we used to be in the frog jump. We weren't in the frog jumping contest. We would catch frogs and do that. And there were pie eating contests and there were all those things. So I'm familiar with
Karen, no one knows what Frontier Days is. So you need to explain what Frontier Days is.
I said it's a fair.
But it's a local thing that happens in our hometown.
Yes, it's a fair, a local fair that has frog jumping contests,
canoe races, the whole
canoe races, and
because we're in a river town, Karen.
Pie eating contests. So it reminded me of that. The very early times of those, it changed over time, but I was just surprised it was well made. I thought the effects were pretty good. I thought the reality of it was very good. The science is good, pretty good. It seemed like it could happen to me. Like it wasn't one of those things that was so outrageous that it couldn't happen. I don't think it would happen in the same way, but if you do dump tons of shit in the water, you're going to get something wrong.
Or something right. Maybe your crops will be fabulous.
Maybe.
I've heard chicken shit's a good fertilizer. Just saying.
Well, things did grow well in the water, didn't they? So that's pretty much all I have. I mean, I thought the acting was good. Like you said, there's no one recognizable in it, but it has some Jaws aspects of we can't, keep people out of the water. We need the tourism kind of thing. We have the greedy mayor and the scientists who no one listens to. And so all of the aspects of a good eco horror film. Did you like anything about it?
So I believe this is our first found footage film. That's like a whole thing, right? Is it?
I think so.
So I don't really have much to compare it to, but it's pretty good as far as found footage films go, I would say. I mean, all the found footage made sense. There was a reason why there was footage available, like in the squad
they didn't just make it up.
No, they didn't just make it up. And video conferences between the CDC and, teenagers filming each other on their cell phones and whatnot. So all that made sense. So that was good. Does have good makeup and effects. I agree. I mean, it's really good, I think. Makeup and effects are really good. And it's good. As you said, you said no one is recognizable. And I think that's good for the film.
Right.
Because it's a found footage film. So if you saw I don't know, Brad Pitt, you'd be like, oh, whatever.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Brad Pitt and George Clooney running around. It would ruin
kill the whole vibe. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
And you just mentioned it was a lot like Jaws, but it's like Jaws to the 10th degree. It's like, because this happens in like 24 hours. This is like a quick thing, Karen. It's like one day. It's like the 4th of July, and that's it. When Jaws took time from what I saw of it, because I left the theater early because I was traumatized. But I believe it took a few weeks for them to close the beaches.
Yes.
But everyone dies within 24 hours, I think.
It's just another reason not to go in the water.
Preaching to the choir, Karen. So basically, when I go to Florida here in a couple of weeks, should I be afraid of big sea lice? Is that what it is? Sea lice?
Isopods, yes.
Is that sea lice?
I don't think so, but I don't know.
Well, you said the science was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not an oceanographer, so I'm not 100% sure, but it looked good. The things that the CDC was saying, I looked up some, it was making sense.
Well, they kind of sucked. So if that's the
they didn't know what it was.
Talked about, then I'm scared.
It is. There's the scariness of watching the film, and then there's scariness of thinking about the film.
Yeah, and then Homeland Security
your
comes
toes
on
in the water.
At the end of the day, I'm like, oh yeah, we got these reports weeks ago, and the CDC's like, yeah, that would have been good to know. Thank you. I'm sure that's fucking reality too, Karen. all these government agencies don't communicate with each other.
Now, I don't know if there's a call center at the CDC where you call and they talk you through, but
I'm sure they have
I
a
thought
daily briefing every morning.
they
This
do. And
is
I'm
the kind
sure
of
there's
shit
a
they should talk
triage
about.
person that takes the calls and sends them to the right department and all that stuff. But I mean, I think I especially felt for the doctor that was trying to take care of this. He had no idea what was going on. He's calling the CDC. They don't know how to help
He was
him.
in over
Every
his
time
head,
he
but he did a
calls,
good job. He was a
he's
good
got,
doctor.
double to triple more of the people that it's happening to. He's trying to figure it out. He doesn't know what to do. He was I thought, a really good character.
I agree. Oh, the acting was good. They were all believable, every one of them. From the teenager filming, FaceTiming a friend, to the doctor, to the CDC people who are just flying by the seat of their pants, don't know what the hell's going on because they're not on site. They're just relying on his video conferences, Everyone was
Yeah, and they
friendly,
tied it
believable.
together nicely by having the reporter talk about it all. So, there's a cohesiveness to it, and she's explaining, and she goes in chronological order, basically, and, talks through each thing, it's good for the film.
And I think it's probably good that she was an intern.
Yeah, she wasn't seasoned. She didn't know what the heck was. All she was supposed to do, this reporter in the film, is cover this small town, small 4th of July celebration. And it all goes to shit.
And she's not sure of herself. And at a time she's like, ooh, did I sound too bossy or was I? Because when shit start going wrong, she does have reporter instincts, right? Like, how did you feel? She was worried about not sounding too cold and whatever to what the people are going through. But her cameraman assures her, but she was fine. But I don't know. It was interesting. It was an interesting little lots of subplots. This film was full of subplots, really, when you think about it.
Yes, I agree. But not too hard to follow them.
No, because they're pretty much arranged. Well, I won't say chronologically, but because we do go back to like oceanographers and their reports that were sent to the mayor previous, and apparently he ignored them. I don't know.
Nobody listens to the scientists in the eco films.
Well, all of our listeners listen to you, Karen.
They have to.
All right. Anything else, Dr. Karen, you really enjoyed?
No, I think it's a good movie. I was very pleasantly surprised by it.
I was surprised as well. Pleasantly surprised, I will say. All right. What didn't you enjoy, Karen?
Well, you talked about the found footage. The found footage is great. The reporter going over it is great. But the hard part about it is doing what we're about to do scene by scene, because you have to keep saying, now the reporter is describing this, or now, like, it's more difficult to talk about it than to watch it. Yeah, so we're back.
Really.
But she's talking kind of the whole time, introducing the things and saying, this is what happened now. And then before that, this is what happened, which is great when you're watching it. But sometimes I kind of caught myself just talking about it without putting context in it, because it does jump a little bit here and there. But she's showing all the footage. So it's not hard to follow at all.
No.
It's just hard.
But the whole thing is a
describe.
Flashback, really. A flashback with found footage.
Yes. And it's almost like one long extended montage, because she's talking through the whole thing and each found footage. And sometimes we go back to it and sometimes we go forward, because they're showing how time is, what was happening. Because sometimes they go backward and say, hey, the scientist found this, he ignored it. But then we're with the present day scientist. It's not difficult to watch it all. I just found it a little difficult to talk about, to keep track, so I could tell people what was happening. That's all. I do think, as you said, it all happens like in 24 hours. Shit hits the fan. And I know the scientists started to find things, I don't know, a month earlier, a couple weeks earlier.
A few weeks, yeah.
I'm surprised that there wasn't like one or two instances before this all happened. Like, you didn't ease into it. It was just like all of a sudden, bam, everybody in the whole place is infected. And then it's also difficult to understand why she wasn't the reporter. I mean, did she never drink water? Did she never wash her hands? She ate the food, she drank, so that's like, how come why were there survivors?
Yeah,
Because,
her video person died apparently, but we do see him washing his face in a fountain at one point.
but you're not going to have immunity to parasites like that. Like sometimes to bacteria or you can have, oh, look, these people never got it for some reason, but parasites are a little different. If you swallow that, maybe you could slow them down. I don't know. And then it was a little iffy at the end where they're like, we just dumped chlorine in and everything was fine. I'm like, the bay goes into the ocean. Now, granted, the bay was where the feeding and all that, where the environment was perfect for this to happen. But at the same time, could some of the fish swim off with these parasites in them? Now, they wouldn't grow the same because they wouldn't have that ideal environment, but they could grow slower. Like you might see, well, sequel potential. So there you go. That's something I would like, actually. I would like to see the tail of the fish with the half-eaten tongue going out of the bay. You know how I dig that. It just it was so horrific, and then it just wraps up in an instant. Which, if they could have done that, you would have thought they would have been trying to do things like that immediately.
Yeah, I agree.
But that's minor. I
like everybody in town pretty much freaking dies except for like her and like the lawyer mother with the baby. And
yeah, but they came from another town.
They did.
So I just don't understand why.
Boat.
Yes. You don't know how often I was saying, go back to the boat, go back to the boat. But I don't understand why the reporter didn't. I think it would have been better if she did, but then there would be no one to
tell what happened.
Yeah, unless somebody else put all the footage together, a relative of hers or something. But she was there, she was participating, drinking, I don't know.
A couple other people would have made it, except for like a non-related incidents. What kind of related, but non-parasitic.
Right. Well, you don't know if that, I guess, yeah, you don't know if they would have gotten it later or not, but it's minor. I was impressed with this film. It gives me the willies, it's like, don't want to go. It's a nice touch where they're
don't want to go up to the lake, the Great Lakes, or
yes,
an island
where they're eating you
Lakes.
From the inside and the outside. That was a nice touch there.
Okay.
Did you not like anything?
I pretty much agree with everything you said. I mean, the big sea lice thing, I'm like, really? Is chicken shit that good that it makes them be huge? And
well, I don't know. There's a lot.
Eat people from the inside, or eat everything from the inside.
Depending on what you feed the chickens, what comes out of the chickens it's not just poop. It's chemicals and growth hormone and, steroid, antibiotics, whatever. Those come out. Whatever goes in, some comes out. And if it's such a high concentration, I don't know. I found it creepily believable that something, granted, I'm not saying wiping out a whole town, but you do get two-headed frogs and all that kind of stuff. There could be something that could wipe out the fish, even if it just ate the fish that way and not the people, that would be a disaster. So the accelerated growth in 24 hours from larva to adult is the horror part, I think.
And not just adult, Karen, like nth degree extra adults.
Big. Yes.
These are not little tiny adult sea lice. These are freaking huge. Anthropods or whatever, isn't it? Isopods. Sorry. I'm a layman, Karen. I'm not a doctor. Yeah, but that's all I have that I had an issue with. We did have warnings for sexual content, but I would argue not near enough. But other than that, that's it.
Yeah, there's not really any in there.
There's like 2 instances where it's suggested, and that's it.
It's implied. It's not, yeah.
It's suggested. It's like, yeah, but nothing comes of it. They could have left that out, I think. Anything else, Karen?
That's all I got.
What kind of cocktail rating you want to give this film, Karen?
I don't know. You think it's a 2 or do you think it's a 3? It's a tough one. It's the first film we've seen like this. I've seen other found footage films, and I like this one better than those, but we haven't talked about them. I liked it.
I did too.
I mean,
I'd do a 2.
it's a low 2, but I think it might be a 2.
I agree. It's pretty good as far as found footage films I go, I would say. Granted, this is the first one we've done, and I haven't watched a lot of them because I've heard they're all terrible. But this one I thought was good.
Yeah, it's put together well. It's really nice having the reporter talk you through it because there's a reason she would have background. There's a reason she would know these things because she was covering the fair. So she would have interviewed the mayor. She would have known who the people
And she
were.
looks different.
Yeah.
So I think it's well done.
And she's traumatized while she's talking about it, as she would be. Effects are good. The blisters was freaking me out. I don't like that.
You don't like blisters and boils, Karen?
Yeah, that's.
All right, 2 cocktails. That's what we're doing.
Do you have a review of the kind?
Oh, I have several, Karen.
Oh, do you?
Yes. Don't know if I'll
Please
read
tell
them
me.
all.
You have a Roger Ebert?
One of them is. But first, I have to tell you, this has a 76% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes, a 5.7 out of 10 on IMDb.
Oh, that's kind of low.
It is. What do you think Google users think? Don't overthink
79%.
it. Don't overthink it, Karen.
79%.
76.
That's surprising. I thought more people would have liked it. I never heard of. I don't remember it. Do you remember it in the theaters or anything?
Vaguely. Vaguely, I do. So the first review I have is from Roger Ebert, Karen. November 7th, 2012. And I'm just going to go ahead and read the whole thing because I have not proofread it. So I'll probably stumble over words. Barry Levinson's The Bay is another found footage shocker, but with a welcome difference. Instead of being cobbled together from shaky cam footage allegedly shot by clueless teenagers whose video shows lots of their own shoes, this one is built around suppressed video allegedly filmed by a professional cameraman for public access TV. It also incorporates cell phone video, Skype interviews, and video shot on board a boat by a young couple who have chosen the wrong day to take their baby out for a cruise. The theory is that all this material has been kept secret in a cover-up of the pollution of Chesapeake Bay. And he has in parentheses, which in fact is heavily polluted, but never mind. As the film opens, a young TV journalist named Donna Thompson recalls a terrible July 4th a few years earlier when a waterborne parasite began to attack swimmers and other local residents. Identified as isopods, the creatures have mutated into carnivores the size of big cockroaches and begin to devour their victims, both from the outside in and the inside out. A nice touch, that. And I agree.
It is a nice touch. You can't fight that.
Nice
How's that doctor going to fight that?
The reasons for the mutation are hinted. Runoff from a giant chicken farm where the poultry feed is laced with steroids and a possible radiation leak from a nearby nuclear reactor. I forgot about the nuclear reactor.
Yeah, I did too, but they did mention it.
It goes without saying that the local mayor denies any problem, having learned from Jaws that it is better for people to die than for tourism to be affected.
See? That's what I'm talking about, Roger.
And once again, it's the first time I'm reading this, so I didn't know this beforehand. Local doctors and police try desperately to call for help, but find it difficult to get a response on a busy holiday. Contacts between an emergency room doctor and the Center for Disease Control in Atlanta are well done and not reassuring, Karen.
No, they are not.
It's a lot like The Walking Dead. Although there are some scary moments here and a lot of gruesome ones, this isn't a horror film so much as a faux eco-documentary. And I agree.
I think it's pretty horror film. I disagree. I think it's a horror film.
Levinson, a major director, seems more interested in spreading a green message than terrifying viewers. Nothing wrong with that, but audiences lured in by trailers may be disappointed. At least the film was watchable and audible, something you can't say for most found footage films, including great sketches of the Paranormal Activity series, which is turning into a parasite of its own. Roger's the best. I have two more, Karen. I'm going to give you a choice. Would you rather hear Variety or the LA Times? They're both about, well, same length, more or less.
I'd say the LA Times. Variety just usually lists the people and doesn't really talk about the film too much.
All right. LA Times by Mark Olson, November 1st, 2012. It was only a matter of time before the found footage craze drew a bona fide name brand Hollywood filmmaker into its ongoing vortex. The Bay is directed by the Oscar-winning Barry Levinson, known for his long-standing connection to the city of Baltimore through such films as Diner. This time, Levinson checks in on the small seaside town of Claridge, Maryland, on the Chesapeake Bay with a story recounting an ecological horror show that fictionally occurred on July 4th, 2009, and was subsequently covered up. As pieced together in a WikiLeaks-style information dump, the local water described as a toxic soup of radioactivity and growth hormones from chicken excrement has become suddenly infested with rapidly growing isopods that take hosts inside people and work their way out. The story becomes more ridiculous as it escalates, the film's overdetermined ecological focus undermining any real horror movie tension. Levinson's casting choices are off the mark as well. Star Kenneth Donahue is just plain bad. I don't even know who that was. The star is the girl.
Oh, it might have been the mayor, maybe?
Whatever. It is intriguing to see a filmmaker of Levinson's caliber grapple with the challenges of a smaller budget present, and he manages to answer some of the questions that often vex found footage movies. Who assembled the footage and how did it come to exist in the first place? Still, The Bay is make work slumming, a scared straight eco-horror PSA where the messages come first.
Well,
and I agree with that. It is eco-horror PSA, I agree.
Well, you can't make eco-horror, but we can't make eco-horror without the message.
That's the whole point of eco-horror, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think that you can do that.
At least this is an effective one.
I don't think that the critics like found footage movies, though. I get that feeling from.
But both of them thought this was a better than the average found footage.
Well, the second one was right. They do explain where they found it, how
There's a reason for it.
Put it together. Yeah. Because they use surveillance film, they use inside cop cars, they use, inside stores, they use people's personal videos. So
and it's a big event.
They
4th
didn't
of July,
make it.
So there's news.
Yeah.
There's probably 3 news stations there, all filming.
Hospitals have cameras in them. There's, Skype calls.
No, they do now. 2012. I'm sure they did.
Might have been one of the first places.
There was no body cam footage though, which I'm sure if they redid this today, there would be body cam footage, which would be good.
That would be good. Yeah, that would be really good.
When the cop goes in the house and
yes,
we don't see anything, but we hear gunshots and people screaming. I was like,
Kill
where's
me.
the body cam footage?
Just kill me. Just kill me.
All right. Are you ready to get into it scene by scene, Karen?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
All right. eBay 2012. Did you watch this on Amazon Prime, Karen?
I did, but you know what I noticed while I'm watching on Amazon Prime now, which I didn't really realize it happened in the last film and this one. If I hit pause, when I hit play again, it jumps like a minute. And I didn't realize that. So I know I'm missing 1 or 2 things in here.
Okay. Our warnings are violence, alcohol use, foul language, sexual content. I would say sexual innuendo, but whatever.
Or situations. Sometimes they say sexual situations or something.
Rated R. First thing I have is news clips, dead fish washing up on shore, dead blackbirds. And then I guess we have words to read. Those events were covered by the media. The following story was never made public. There's lots of words to read in this too, but that's fine. And then we see Donna speaking about the disaster that happened at the 4th of July celebration.
Yeah, I think she's on a Skype call. Could be a Zoom meeting now, but I think then it was Skype.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering how this would age once I kept saying Skype. It's still a thing, but it's been bought and sold, by this time, and so whatever. And
but it's an over the computer meeting. It's not.
Yes.
It's not in the same room. It's
they have digital footage which they have compiled, and I mean the film opens and they're kind of walking Donna through. Okay, so you have this screen over here. You can watch the footage we're showing, and you can narrate it. Basically, is what it's.
Yeah, and she seems
about.
Traumatized, but she looks stressed.
July 4th, 2009, Mike in the Morning on the radio show, right? People celebrating the 4th of July. And we see Donna talking about raw footage. Well, she does to the whole movie, so I don't know why that's important, but that's what I wrote.
She also says she feels a little bit that she doesn't know if something's going to happen to her because she's doing this. So there's that little bit of pressure too.
She does. And she comments on the mayor and others who were members of the tragedy. So then we see Donna covering the festivities of the 4th of July in Claridge, Maryland.
She says about the town, she's basically reminiscing. She wished you could see the town before this happened. She would go there every summer with her parents. It was fun. She had her first kiss there, her first crab dinner. It's a good memory for her until this happens.
And we see her interviewing the mayor. And then we cut to June 18th footage where the bodies of 2 scientists were found in the bay, and they were oceanographers. And people hypothesized they might have been killed by sharks.
Which would be strange in that. So hold on, I've got some stuff about oceanographers. Because lots of kids want to be oceanographers,
I thought it would be fun.
Yeah. What degrees do you, well, first I can tell you what they are, which most people know, but I'll say it anyway. They study seas and currents, marine plants and animals, and the rocks and minerals that lie beneath the seabed. You need a bachelor's degree in oceanography or in a basic sciences. That's the minimal educational requirement. If you really are contemplating a professional career in oceanography, you should consider getting an advanced degree. Most of them, it says most jobs in oceanography require a master's degree. Many require a PhD. Once you have your oceanography degree, your graduate work you'll become more focused. When you're in graduate school, you have like a specific project. Will work on the specific features of the ocean that interest you. I did kind of try to find out how much money they make, just out of curiosity, because you do have to have a PhD, which is a lot of, that's a lot of schooling. The average oceanographer's salary in the United States as of May 28th, 2024 is $77,178, but it usually ranges between $72,000 and $90,000. I did see on ZipRecruiter, it was a lot lower than that. Annual salaries as high as 55 and low as 11,000. But I wonder if those are interns or or bachelor degrees, and then as you get more educated, you go up. But yeah, lots of kids when they were little wanted to be oceanographers.
So then we see scientists talking about all the chemicals in the bay. Then we cut the footage from May 27th. But go on.
Sorry. So Roger Ebert alluded to it. Chesapeake Bay is very polluted. It has a D+. I looked it up on water quality. I don't know what all goes into that, but that was in 2023, and it's the same grade that they got in 2020. So in 3 years, there's been no progress made.
Then we see scientists talking about chemicals in the bay. Cut to May 27th, 2009, and people arguing about the chicken business putting pollution into the bay. Angry townsfolk, Karen.
Yes.
Apparently.
They're debating. So
probably the fishermen aren't happy about all the chicken shit in the bay.
So chickens poop a lot. So I looked it
Oh,
up.
everybody poops, Karen.
Everybody does. There's books to document that everybody poops. Each one of your hens will produce about a quarter pound of manure a day, is about 1 cubic foot every 6 months, depending on how much you feed them and what you feed them. So if you have, pardon the pun, a shit ton of chickens, you're going to get a shit ton of manure. So that's not unreasonable.
Which I've heard is very good for certain crops.
It is. I think you have to let it sit for like a year or something. You can't use it right away, I don't think, but I don't know.
Probably burn them. Have to let it simmer. Simmer down. Simmer down. Simmer down. Yeah, so apparently chicken feces dumped into the bay, a whole lot of it. Because there's like a whole guy doing a whole expose too. He's like,
yes,
filming.
He's like got his night vision glasses on and everything.
Then we see the mayor talking about the salination plant, which,
he drinks some water.
He does. He says everyone benefits because, it's best water in the country and it produces water to feed the fucking chickens. Apparently. So then there are scenes of a person in a dunk tank, right?
A little earlier, I think.
Yeah, but the next thing I have is the girl who's in the dunk tank is saying she needs to go to the hospital.
Yes,
see footage
she's
of her,
the first one we see.
And she seems to have some sort of rash. And then others experiencing the same thing, question mark?
Well, she seems to have the rash. She can't find her husband, implying maybe that he's no longer with us. She's covered in blisters. She wants to go to the hospital. A lot of people ignore her. And then there's a crab eating contest. And they're all eating the crab. And then all of a sudden, they start just projectile vomiting. I mean,
yes, they do.
Massive amounts. And she's yelling, "Are you getting this? Are you getting this?" to the cameraman. So they're apparently all sick, plus the woman. And there are blisters all over them.
Then we introduced to Dr. Jack at the hospital. Patients have lesions on their skin. Dr. Jack calls he calls the Center for Disease Control. And he asks them several questions.
I think we've talked about the Center for Disease Control before, but I'll tell you again.
Oh, tell us all about the CDC, Dr. Karen.
It's the National Public Health Agency of the United States under the Department of Health and Human Services, and it is headquarters in Atlanta, Georgia.
Is it run by the government, Karen?
The main goal is the protection of public health and safety through control and prevention of disease, injury, and disability in the U.S. and worldwide.
So you're saying it's run by the government?
The CDC focuses national attention on developing and applying disease control and prevention. It especially focuses its attention on infectious disease, foodborne pathogens, environmental health, occupational safety and health promotion, injury prevention. It was founded in when, do you think? July 1st.
July 1st? I'm going to say 1971.
1946 as the successor to the World War II Malaria Control in War Areas program.
It's way off. Then we cut to officers arriving at a body on the side of the road.
Yeah, they're just driving down the road. And
there's a body.
have a little bit of that. And then we see Donna narrating video of a doctor and his lawyer wife and their newborn son leaving on a boat. And they're going to come to Claridge to watch the fireworks. I guess they're meeting family at Claridge to watch the fireworks.
Yeah, her mother is there. While the doctor's talking to the CDC, he is telling them what the symptoms are. Blisters, boils, lesions on the face, neck and chest. The symptoms are all different with different people, is what the doctor's saying. So that's why they're having a hard time figuring out what it is, because it's not, there's blisters, consistent. But some people, yeah, there's not a lot of consistency.
And of course, the CDC said, well, have you tried rebooting? It's my IT thing, you know. Have you rebooted yet? Then we have 911 call, a woman vomiting blood. Caller thinks she ate something bad. 911 center overwhelmed with calls. Hospital is full. Next thing I have,
they're starting to notice that people's guts are torn out, that tongues are gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Woman died, guts torn out, as well as her tongue. And
they think it's domestic violence when they see, because she was sort of wandering in the a woman was in her house, called 911 because her neighbor was wandering. They verge on zombie like with some of the people.
Yeah. Or, like you said, domestic violence, because we see Donna interviewing a local resident who knew the woman, asking about her. Then we cut back to Alex and Stephanie, the doctor and lawyer, leaving on their boat to Claridge. And it's a 7-hour trip. So I'm not sure where they're coming from. I would think New York, but I don't know. Seems like a long time. 7 hours.
And is this where we see
To
the
see
young
some
girl
freaking
talking to her
fireworks.
friends? Well, and to see her mother. Her parents are there.
Okay.
But is this where we see Jennifer?
Yeah, Jennifer, the teenager girl, Jennifer using FaceTime to show her blisters and boils on her skin to her friend. Talking about how her parents left and didn't tell her where they were going.
They just left without telling her.
So I thought about that later. I'm like, well, were they
I
did they
think they were
panic
infected.
and go to the hospital and just ran out without telling her, or did they like evacuate? I don't know, because we never hear anything more about them.
They could have just been wandering around the yard like that other lady was.
Could have been.
Zombie like, or they could
It's
have
like, really? Would you
gone
like
to
just
the
leave your
hospital.
teenage daughter there and just vacate?
Well, if you yell up the stairs, we're going to the hospital. What's the chance your teenager's going to actually hear you?
Well, depends on who's yelling, Karen. If it's me,
True.
he would hear me. I would make sure. So then we have oceanographers doing a video report, and they put a scope down a fish's mouth, and there's parasite larvae in the fish.
Yeah, it's a borescope. So that's used for visual inspection work where the target area is inaccessible by other means, where accessibility may require destructive, time-consuming, and/or expensive activities. So it doesn't just happen in fish or human bodies. It happens if it's in a human body, it's an endoscope. They call it the same thing. But sometimes there'll be like
I think
tight
I've had one of
spaces
those, Karen.
like where they need to get in to see electrical wiring, or they need to get in to see tight mechanical places. They will use these things, but they're just shoving it down the fish's mouth.
Then we have on May 18th, this video report was sent to me. This must be words to read. On May 18th, this video report was sent to Mayor Stockman, chairman of the Chesapeake Environmental Council. There are no records he ever responded.
And they're fascinated
Already throwing
by what's
shade
inside.
on the government leaders.
But the scientists are fascinated.
And we have news reports of murder of the woman. And of course, they place the blame on the husband, I wrote.
Of course, because it's never the husband.
No!
It's always
husbands are all loving and caring and want to take care of their spouses.
There was a show. What is it? What's the show? Not 48 Hours. What is it? Where they do unsolved murders and stuff, or
Unsolved
Leslie Stahl
mysteries.
does it. But
I don't know.
like, it's always the husband. It's always the husband. It's always the husband.
Every now and then it's the wife, Karen. Just
yes,
saying.
it is.
So I tell people, if you ever hear on the news that I committed suicide, don't believe it. It was my wife. But I don't know why she would. I mean, she's my gift. Whatever.
I know. Well, you're not her gift, though. She's yours.
Apparently. That's interesting, Karen. I've never heard it put that way before.
Really? Because we put it that way all the time.
All right, whatever. So then email attachment sent to the CDC from Dr. Jack is the next thing I have. Apparently he sent him something with
and they're like, is this
pictures
Photoshopped?
and shit. Yeah.
But they think it might be two different strains of parasite because, as we've alluded to multiple times now, one's on the outside, one's on the inside, and it's eating its way out from the inside and in from the outside. So it's pretty gross.
Like Led Zeppelin album.
There you go. Getting that musical reference in there.
In Through the Outdoor. Their last album, actually. But whatever. Well, the last one. They did release others after, the death of John Bonham, but that was their last studio album. Whatever. Look it up, boys and girls. So then we have video of boils and blisters on the legs of a victim. Boils and lesions, I wrote. Then we have the mayor on the radio interviewing with, I don't know, what's his name from the morning show. or some
Mayor's
other
like,
dude.
it's fine. Everything's fine.
Mayor talks about rumors being spread in the town. Mayor tries to assure everyone that it's just normal bacteria levels that raise in the summer. This happens every summer. It'll be fine. So, yeah,
I said, did
I
they
don't feel
not learn
sorry for
anything
him
from
because of that. But
they not learn anything from Jaws?
then we have an oceanographer's report from May 28th. Bacteria levels very high. Bacteria from the chicken farms running into the water is very high. And they have like radar behind them of the bacteria going into the bay or some shit, right? Then we cut to a fishing boat. Again, found footage, men videoing themselves catching fish because that's what you do, apparently.
On the 4th of July, sure.
6
If
miles
you live
north
on the
of
bay.
Claridge, and it looks like they're catching striped bass, I wrote.
Yeah, I didn't know, but it
It
looked
was
like a
striped
bass.
It was a striped bass. And then something jumps out of the fish's mouth onto the fisherman's hand. And he freaks out, pushes it off. It looks like little potato bugs or a big potato bug or
Big potato.
whatever.
Well, because potato bugs are isopods.
He pushes it off his hand and it jumps back into the water. Back to the radio booth, and they're talking about satanic cults and terrorist plots and doom and gloom, Karen. Radio talk show. Is that what we're doing
We're
here?
starting to get the conspiracy theory on the radio.
Really?
What could it be?
Conspiracy theories? Do people
Some
do
people
that?
say it's the flu shots. Some people say it's satanic cults, drugs in the air,
Shots?
and then
Like
pesticides.
vaccinations? Really? Is that what they think?
That's what it's crazy.
All right. Then we have shots of the doctor and his lawyer wife making their way to Claridge on the boat.
Yeah, and they're kind of lovey-dovey and stuff.
Yeah,
they're a good
he's
couple.
feeling romantic every now and then. And that, I guess that's like part of the sexual content. I don't know. But nothing ever comes of it. But whatever. Then we have an oceanographer's video report from June 2nd. So the fish are mutilated, Karen.
Tongues are gone, and they don't understand that. She said fish don't bite fish. I'm sure some fish do, but
Oh, hell yeah, they do. That's when she said that. I'm
but
like,
not.
really? No. The bigger fish always eats the smaller fish, Karen.
But I don't know if they bite them as much as they swallow them.
No, they swallow them whole. But
Right. So that's what I think she meant.
yeah, I agree. And then we
It
have
was a
words
funny
to
kind of
read,
thing.
apparently. The following recovered footage had suffered some water damage. A young couple, girl jumps in the water, girl's attacked. It's a
Well,
teenage
she was
couple.
the star
and-
pitcher for the softball team.
And he wants her to take her top off so he can see her boobs. And she says, no, you've already seen them. But then she takes her top off, leaves her bra on, and jumps in the water. And she's in there swimming. And then she's attacked. And the
and
guy,
you see her. Yeah.
yeah, he kind of, I guess he jumps in to try to save her, but it's very choppy, bloody footage. This is probably the most gruesome of the whole movie right here, I think, to me. This is the most scary part of it right here.
The oceanographers get it pretty good too, though.
They do. But there's choppy, bloody footage, and they go.
I said it's pretty cool footage, but it's horror.
They do
footage,
say
yeah.
that the camera washed up on shore or whatever, and the bodies were
and they never
found.
found the bodies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we cut back to the doctor and his lawyer wife on the boat. Oh,
Kissy
doctor
facing.
feeling frisky, I wrote.
Yep.
And the lawyer throws him into the water. Cool off. Yeah, probably not good.
And he says something was in his mouth.
Yeah, that wasn't good. You cut back to the oceanographers, and they say 40% of the bay is a dead zone. Then we have a Skype conference with the CDC, Dr. Jack. He says he now has 60 people infected.
With blisters, and some are going into anaphylactic shock. So anaphylactic shock, which we've talked about before, but it can occur within seconds or minutes of exposure to something you're allergic to, such as peanuts or bee stings. I thought that was pretty funny.
Peanuts or bee stings.
Anaphylaxis
We both know
cause-
people who have those things, don't we, Karen?
Yes. Anaphylaxis causes the immune system to release a flood of chemicals that can cause you to go into shock, blood pressure drops suddenly, and airways narrow, blocking breathing. So I was curious because I did go into anaphylactic shock when I was 8 from the bee stings. Only 1% of bee stings result in anaphylactic shock.
Well, lucky
With
you,
it
Karen.
most, well, but it gets even more than lucky. with it more likely to happen in people over the age of 25. This is because the more an allergic person is stung, the more severe the reactions get. So over time, each time you get stung, your foot swells more or it hurts more or whatever. Not me, though. Straight into the good stuff. Children who likely have only been stung 1 or 2 times will rarely experience it. I know, I'm special. See, again, do I have to keep telling you how special I am? It appears that I do, dear listener. He does say
So
in the hospital, he's saying that he's talking about the tongues. People's tongues are gone. They talk about methicillin didn't work, which is a derivative of penicillin. I don't think it's on the market anymore, but I'm not sure. It keeps spreading in all of the cases. And the CDC is like, we don't, it could be a number of things, fungal or bacterial. Then they give examples of what happened in Vancouver. But they basically are like, we don't know. It could be so many things. And the doctor is like, help me.
Then we have oceanographers report on June 10th. Parasites have latched onto the gills of the fish, and they're mutated parasites. They are eating the fish alive.
So an isopod is, they do say, and we've mentioned it a couple times, that isopods are large and diverse order of crustaceans. They're distributed worldwide in all kinds of terrestrial, freshwater, and marine habitats. About 6,250 of the 10,300 known isopod species are marine and can be found in all latitudes in each of the world's oceans. So you're not safe anywhere.
Nope, don't go in the water, boys and girls.
Most of the described species inhabit shallow water habitats. So even if you just stick your feet in, you're done for.
You go.
But they also can be found in the deep sea. And like you said, pill bugs are isopods found on land. It was a good observation on your part.
Oh, thank you, Karen.
Well, you know.
Then we have words to read, I think, because I have the oceanographer's report was also sent to Mayor Stockman and the Chesapeake Environmental Council. There are no records they ever responded. They keep pushing blame on this poor mayor. And he is the head of the Chesapeake Environmental Council as well as the mayor. Something. Yeah. So then we see video of a man with his stomach moving. It's just some guy like doing a Facebook video or something and his stomach moving. I don't know, but I could see where if that was happening, I would like post it, video and post it, but whatever.
I would, but I'm like, are we going to get an alien thing here where it's going to burst out?
Then the 15-year-old is sending text messages, something in her stomach feels weird.
Yeah, I was like, that's a bummer.
And we have footage of the people in the emergency room wanting help. CDC watching video reports from the bay, and they're not sure what's going on. And we have more words to read. The following is, I guess, is a voice message for Stephanie that she never received because she's on the boat.
Yeah, her mom's telling her, don't get off the boat. Stay in the boat.
She's told they're going to amputate her father's leg, and the caller warns Stephanie not to get off the boat. And then we see Stephanie and her husband. They pass a derelict boat, I wrote. An empty sailboat. It was floating by them. Cut to the CDC trying to figure out what's going on. They debate amongst themselves, I think.
They do say it could be the chicken shit, or it could, they say excrement because they're fancy. Or there was a small leak from a nuclear power plant. They're talking about how the drinking water is terrible.
Cut to the emergency room. The bacteria has moved to the other leg of the man whose leg they amputated. So they took one leg. Now it's already moved to the other leg. Cut to the CDC, talking to somebody about the water. And they talk about the salination plant. Then we have found footage from hospital traffic jams. And apparently the bridge was shut down, Karen, but there was no record of who ordered it because they talk about people sitting on the bridge for hours. It saved their fucking lives, I'm sure. Whatever.
What, because they couldn't get into town?
Yeah. And we cut to Alex and Stephanie getting on their boat, and they're using the GPS to make their way to the bay. And we're thinking, I think we're rooting for Alex and Stephanie, but I don't think we're hopeful of their outcome because we're thinking, just turn around, turn on the radio. But whatever.
I'm just glad that they didn't,
especially with their baby. So they're
show the baby floating away in the boat. That's what I was worried was going to happen.
I mean, Alex, Stephanie, and the baby are all about that. I feel like in this film, we're rooting for them, or like putting ourselves in
Yes.
there, like turn around, don't open the door, don't go in the basement.
Don't go in the
There are
dark
those
basement.
people, especially with the kid.
A baby, even.
Yeah.
Mm.
So then we have email. I don't know. FBI is at our office. Not allowed to post your bloggers anymore because they don't want to cause any undue fear in the community or some shit like that. Chris, that's an
I think
email
that's
that
to
someone
her.
sent to somebody.
Maybe. I don't know. I thought it was to
Yeah,
her, but now
email
that you
to
say that, I don't
Donna.
know.
Yeah. Then we have Donna recording video and there's screams in the background, and she was like, "What is that?" And then she begins describing where she was hearing the screams come from. And as an intern, a news intern, this would be effed up, Karen. I'm just saying.
Baptism by fire for
You should get a
sure.
Pulitzer Prize or whatever they
Yes.
do. So we see video from a police car and screams coming from a house. Officer knocks on the door. There's no answer. So he enters. And we cut back to Donna at the fairgrounds and screams. We cut back to the house and there's screams and gunshots now from the house.
Well, you hear someone saying, just kill me, please
I
kill me.
didn't understand
Please
what they
kill
were
me.
saying, screaming. And the other officers enters the house, see what's going on. And then we have words to read, Karen. The following audio has been digitally enhanced in an attempt to understand what took place in the house. And next thing I wrote is, I guess one cop is killing people in the house because they were dying. And there's things coming out of their bodies. His tongue is gone. He can't even speak. Shoot me, shoot me. One of the cops says it's on his leg and biting him. Gunshots. It's all we hear. So this has been good when there would have been body cam footage.
Right. That's where
what
the
I would
body
have liked
cam
to
footage
see.
would have. You could get some gruesomeness there.
Yeah. So then we have radio transmission received from the Coast Guard. Dead fish in the bay as far as the eye can see, I wrote. And CDC, and I guess there's crustaceans inside the fish. They call them sea lice. Then we have an oceanographer's video report from June 16th. They're going to check out the parasites. And the oceanographers dive into the water, Karen.
I'm like, why would they? That's why I said, what are you doing? They know the fish have parasites. Why would you do that? Just scoop a fish up if you want to get one.
They've already done that, though.
But why are they going in there?
They have to move on to the next thing, I guess. But then one of the oceanographers is attacked, question mark. They dove into a school of fully grown isopods. They go. That's what I wrote.
Doesn't his eye explode in the?
I don't know. It's a mess. But they go. So then we see Donna walking on the pier, and she hear a noise coming from a restaurant. She walks
Like
in
moaning.
and there's blood, and then blood drips on Donna. And I'm like, oh, that's probably not good for you, Donna. Drips right on her face. But apparently she makes it. I don't know. I guess not bloodborne because it's
Well, yeah,
parasitic,
you think
right?
it's not in there, and then I don't know if it's now or a little bit late, but she's washing her face in the fountain.
Is she?
Well, because she says, "Is the blood gone?" And he said, "No, it's all
No.
over your face.
It's all over your face. Yeah. Then come back to the CDC, tell the doctor that it's a miracle he hasn't been infected already. They suggest that he leave the hospital immediately. Get out. Then we cut to the teenage girl, FaceTiming her friend, telling about the bodies and people dying at the hospital. I think she's in like the stairwell or something at this point, isn't she?
Yeah.
9:03 p.m. July 4th. It's kind of late to arrive for fireworks, but whatever. Alex and Stephanie arrive.
Well, depends on right now. It doesn't get dark till 9.
That's true. I mean, it's still light
So if
now.
you're really,
As I look out the window.
yeah, so if you're really
It's
gonna see
9:17, boys and
fireworks.
girls, in real time. And I wrote, there's a bunch of dead stuff in the water. So then we have police car footage.
Well, and no one's on the dock. Her parents were supposed to meet them there.
Yeah,
There's
no one's there.
nobody around.
The town's
Like they kind of
vacant.
dead, so to speak.
It's
But
a ghost
he's like,
town.
well, did we miss the fireworks? And he's given snarky remarks about nice welcome. Your parents aren't here, blah, blah, blah.
So then we have police car footage. The sheriff says he lost contact with his deputies 30 minutes ago. Then we cut to Donna with blood on her face, washing her face in a fountain, just like you said, trying to get the blood off. And the cameraman finds a body at the fountain. And then the body kind of blinks his eyes and they run away. And that was the last footage they shot, apparently. I don't know if that's words to read, but that's what I have. Then 9:26, Alex and Stephanie arrive on the dock. Place is deserted and they're walking in on the dock. And Donna says by the time they got there, more than 700 people had died. And then they find a body.
Yeah, and I keep going, go back on the boat. There's dead. Nobody's around.
Yes,
and there's
turn right around.
And a dead person. Is it because we watch horror films, or would a normal person go, I think maybe we should leave?
Yeah,
I guess
we
I
should
would
leave.
probably want to try to find my parents if my parents were there. That would be the one thing.
I don't know.
I would go to their house or something.
But he's already been in the water. So I'm not sure I want to go back on the boat with him either.
Well, that's true. But we don't know that. I mean, we don't know he's infected. We know, but she doesn't know he's infected.
Yeah, but it's not like zombies. He's not going to bite her and eat her. But that's what I would go to in my head because that's what I'm trained for. But anyway, and then we cut to marine biologists talking to the CDC, 9:53 p.m., talking about the steroids in the manure, the chicken manure, Karen. Then we have a montage of water misters and sprinklers, et cetera, et cetera. Everyone running through the sprinklers and doing the slip and slides and whatever. It's water-based, so you're screwed, pretty much, is what they're telling us. And the CDC says, give me the White House. Finally.
We do see
that's going to matter.
She interviewed Miss Crustacean at the beginning.
President's going to make everything fine. Give me the White House.
She interviewed Miss Crustacean at the beginning of her report, and then we do see Miss Crustacean didn't make it.
Cut to Alex and Stephanie finding more dead bodies. And I wrote, they should go back on the boat right here. Yes. But they enter a deserted restaurant to regroup. That's their plan. Let's go in here and try to find a landline. Yeah, Stephanie looks for a landline. 11:01 p.m., sheriff and the mayor in the squad car. They come upon the house where the deputies were earlier. One of the deputies we saw earlier comes out of the squad car with his gun out. He has blisters on his face. He tells them to leave. Sheriff gets up and tries to talk him down, but the deputy shoots the sheriff and then shoots himself right in the head, Karen.
Yeah, that was pretty brutal.
Cut to Alex and Stephanie at the restaurant. They do a Skype call to Stephanie's brother or something.
Someone she knows. Yeah, I think it's her brother.
And we see that Alex has blisters on his neck now.
Yeah, because the brother's like, what's on you?
Yeah, not looking good for Alex. 12:01, Dr. Jack making a video showing the hospital. It's not a virus, it's an organism, isopod. And this is where we see the shot of the teenage girl as he's painting across all the bodies. Rapidly growing organism, doctor has blisters on his chest now, which he shows to the video. Cut to the mayor driving through town in the squad car.
Yeah, he's trying to leave.
Dead. He's trying to get out. He's trying to beat feet. He's passing all the dead bodies and he has an accident at an intersection. And then we have words to read. Mayor John Stockman died from injuries suffered from the accident. His death may have been preventable, but there were no emergency services available. So he just bled out there in the car or whatever happened.
Yeah.
Cut to Alex and Stephanie. Alex ain't looking so good, Karen, I wrote.
That's what I said. He's not looking good.
Yeah, Alex begs Stephanie to kill him with a fire poker. Is that what he has there?
Yes.
And then he starts vomiting.
The bug
blood.
comes out of his neck. Yeah.
And
it's pretty disgusting.
Breaking through his neck.
Yeah. Yeah. Ugh.
CDC and Homeland Security discussing the oceanographers' bodies. And Homeland Security is just now getting back to the CDC about the things they found in the deaths of the oceanographers weeks ago. Parasites, cause of death undeterminable. So I guess Stephanie kills Alex, but she makes her way to the squad car. And then a woman pops up from the back saying, "Help me." But parasites crawl out of the woman's mouth, and Stephanie grabs the baby and leaves in his pumpkin seat. What's that called?
Stroller?
He's like in his little car seat thing.
She's just carrying the car seat.
5:30, I guess a.m. Men in hazmat suits and the National Guard come in and quarantine the town. Then we have words to read. The isopods were killed off by dumping massive, Karen, amounts of chlorine into the Claridge Channel. Probably killing lots of other shit as well. But, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Pretty much everything, I would admit.
Some people never got
pretty
sick.
Much. Yeah, I don't understand that.
Town reached a financial agreement with the government.
Don't understand that either.
Did not want to participate in the film. But apparently she survived with her baby.
Yeah, but she didn't touch any water or anything.
No, he did.
He did, but she didn't. So she would survive. I just don't understand how anyone else would.
And then they say the Chesapeake Bay remains 40% lifeless. Is that true, Karen? Dr. Karen?
Well, it's polluted.
All right. The official line from the government was that the outbreak was due to unseasonably high water temperatures. That'll always do it. It's always those unseasonably high water temperatures, Karen. Just like that city water will always get you. Credits, the end. You ever have that city water get you, Karen? It'll get you every time. When you have to go to the hospital when you're in college and you have to tell your parents, oh, it must be the city water. Not because I was drinking all fucking night.
No, my brothers always used to call it a bad sandwich. They had a bad sandwich.
As you do?
They got a lot of bad sandwiches.
I never did, but I had friends that did. It was always the city water. All right, Karen, what'd you think of this crazy
Bay
cocktail
Breeze.
called the Bay Breeze?
That everybody knows about but me. It's good. It's definitely.
I wish I would have layered mine.
Calf can on the lanai and sip your Bay Breeze.
I agree.
Very tasty.
Anything we learned today, Karen? I'm sure you learned us lots of things.
I tried.
I didn't have much to offer except Led Zeppelin and Through the Outdoor.
We learned about oceanographers, what they do, how to become one, how much they make, how much chickens poop. Everybody should know that.
But it is very good fertilizer for certain crops. I'll tell you that, boys and girls.
A little bit about the CDC, when it was formed, what anaphylactic shock is, and how it presents, how special I am, what isopods are, that the Chesapeake Bay in 2023 had a D minus grade on its water. I think I said D plus, and it was the same as. Oh, okay. And the same as it was in 2020. So they haven't improved it. And what borescopes are and what they're used for, also known as endoscopes if it's in the human body. So look at that.
Lots of good learning. I feel smarter. All right. Are we ready to move on to next week's film?
Yes. What do you have?
Oh, is it my choice already? Well, boys and girls, next week is a very special episode. Scary Spirits Podcast.
Ooh, how come?
We're doing Christmas in July, Karen.
Oh, that's right. We are.
So, my nieces and nephew last Christmas sent me a request.
It's the cutest thing.
Podcast request for a film to do and a cocktail even.
They wrapped it up in Scary Spirits podcast wrapping paper that they made themselves. Well, maybe their mom made. They picked a drink and they picked the movie. How old are they? Would you guess? Under 10?
My nephew is like 16. And my nieces are 10 and 12 or 13 or something. Nephew's the oldest.
And what did they choose? What movie did they pick for you?
They picked Santa's Sleigh from 2005.
They picked a Christmas movie because
it was a Christmas present. And I couldn't wait until Christmas to do it. So I said, let's do Christmas in July. Or maybe you did. I don't know.
I think
you
I
probably did.
But whatever.
If you're smarter than me.
That sounds more like me than you.
It does.
Awesome. So what drink did they find to go with it?
They gifted me like the movie, and then they gifted me this whole like infusion mixer thing, which is like a bunch of sugar with like stuff in it that you pour wine in, but it's called
Ah.
a Santagria. Right. I'm showing it to Karen now. It's a
Oh.
bottle. But and they also sent a recipe for a shivery Santagria, but it wasn't really it was ingredients, but it wasn't really how to make it.
Oh, like what like
Yeah. I came up with that on the fly, Karen.
okay, so what
So
are we gonna need?
here's what we're gonna need for a shivery Santagria. I just looked up other because I know what a Santagria is based on, right? So we're gonna need a
It's
bottle of
it's a
red
play
wine.
on sangria. So there you go.
Sangria, yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna need a bottle of red wine because apparently we're gonna make a pitcher or something.
Yes.
A half a cup of spiced apple cider,
Oh,
half a
that's gonna
cup
be hard to find.
half a cup sparkling cider, half a cup vodka, which means I need more vodka, and half a cup cranberry juice, which means I need more cranberry juice too. And of course, you need your oranges, apples, cranberries, and rosemary for garnish because you just got to throw it into this pitcher and
You let it
drink
sit
it.
for a while,
I'm sure you do, Karen.
I think, to infuse the flavors of
Yeah,
whatever you're throwing
sangria.
in there.
I think that's what you do. Yeah. And next week will be special episode because I will not curse.
Oh,
Because
because they'll
I'm going
listen.
to send it to them so that they will listen and hopefully we'll have some more fans. Well,
Am I
they're
allowed
already
to
fans.
curse?
Huh?
Can I curse?
I'm not going to tell you what to do, Karen. You do you. But I'm not. They've never heard me curse.
Wow. My nieces and nephews have heard me curse.
They're like,
30.
I know, yours are older. Well, because you're much older than me, Karen.
Yes, of course.
And of course, I have no siblings. So these are my wife's siblings' kids. So I have to be especially nice, apparently.
True.
Maybe. I should be. Not, I don't have to be. I should be. And they
And
love
you
me.
are. Yeah, they do.
But what's not to love?
I can't think of a thing.
Exactly. All right. Anyone you need to thank this week, Karen?
Well, I need to thank our listeners. There's a lot of podcasts out there. We're really glad you're spending time with us. And what about you, Greg? Who do you need to thank?
I'm going to thank the band Verse 13 for providing all the music in the Scary Spirits podcast, Karen.
The music definitely makes the podcast better.
Anything else, Karen?
Please drink responsibly.
Yes.
Thanks for listening to the Scary Spirits podcast, where the movies might be iffy, but the drinks are always solid. We would love to hear from you. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Scary Spirits Podcast, or go to our website, scaryspirits.com. And if you want the direct line, email us at info@scaryspirits.com. If you really want to help us out, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. And remember, always drink responsibly. See you next week.